Welcome, everybody, to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and after having such a great time in our last episode, we have invited Miss Sharon Fillyaw back, and we are going to ask her because, so when we first met Sharon and when we first got to have our conversation with her, we really focused a lot on her competitive side, and we focused a lot on the fitness aspect, but Sharon is when it comes to fitness and it comes to making a healthy and different lifestyle changes to better and enrich your life, has the whole scope. And so what we're going to start off talking about today is another part of a healthy lifestyle that is very close to Sharon's heart, and it's senior fall prevention and exercise. Now, we kind of touched on this a little bit. We were introduced to this in the last episode when we were discussing how Sharon does have a client who is over 100 years old that is who, we can admit maybe more fit than some of us who are a lot younger than he is. And it has to do with starting that active lifestyle and just maintaining it. And it does, it's never too late to start being active and to make healthy changes. It's never too late. You're never too far along without any way to come back. There's never a better time than now to start, no matter where you're starting at. And I when it comes to senior fall prevention and exercise, it's very dear to my heart too, because, our parents are getting a little bit older, or maybe our grandparents, or for some of the listeners, this may be something dear to your heart because you yourself want to make a lifestyle changes because you're noticing things that are changing within your own body and your own lifestyle. So welcome back, Sharon.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for coming back on. And so I wanted to ask you I just kind of wanted to dive right into it because personally, I have seen there's many people dear and close to my heart that are over the age of 75. And I have one example, my mom's mom, who I call my halmini. My halmini. So she actually, she was a testament to myself that made me kind of think to myself, wow, age really is a number when it comes to health and wellness, because she is actually a breast cancer survivor. She has had different things throughout her life that would, for some people, maybe give them a reason to not be too active, but she used it as a motivator to, she was like, okay, I got to keep my body healthy because it was at one time very weak. And so I remember one time so at the YMCA by her home, they have senior yoga where it's just senior ladies that go, and it's really cute because they wear their best jeans. They wear their jewelry. It's really cute because this is kind of an outing for them. It's really, really precious. But they go and they do yoga. And then she also does weight training twice a week. So she kind of alternates, and then she rests Friday through Sunday is her rest period, where she just does walks in the morning and things like that. And of course, when she first started that, my mom and everyone in our family was very encouraging to her. We were like, that's awesome. That's great. And we kind of were ashamed because I was like, wow, grandma goes to the gym more than I do. She's dedicated to this, she's about that lifestyle now.
Yeah, but she's doing it.
And it was really encouraging because she lives actually on the second floor of her apartments, and there's no elevator, so she has to walk up the stairs. And I remember speaking to her on the phone, and she was so excited to tell me that now she can carry up the entire case of water, the Costco case of water, up the stairs, and that she doesn't need help. And that to me kind of opened my eyes, and I was thinking, wow, because before she could not. It was just too much. The stairs and the heaviness, the weight of the case of water bottles was just too much on her and everything. So it was a really big testament to me. I was like, wow, you're never too old to start getting stronger and to start working out. And so I kind of wanted to ask you, what are some because again, she lives on the second floor and things like that. And right now she's relatively healthy. She's very active. She tries very hard to keep her mind sharp. But what are some factors that increase your chances of having these accidents?
Well, that's a very good question. And as you mentioned, my specialty is senior exercise because over 2/3 of hospitalizations over the age of 65 are due to falls and the secondary result of them. So there are a number of answers to that question. One of them being what's called kyphotic posture. So sometimes as we get older, people develop a dowager's hump. They kind of are slumped forward.
Yes.
So when you see someone like that and their head is pitched forward and they have a hump on their back, they have a decreased visual field. When this occurs, they are more likely to fall because they can't see as much around them.
Wow.
Also, what is called this comorbidity along with that is that they have weak quads or weak thighs. Strong thighs are one of the indicators of living to 100 is one of them.
Oh, wow.
So, right. So it's not just one thing that contributes to being more prone to falls. It's everything. It's muscle weakness, which is called sarcopenia, which occurs, I believe, I'm not sure, beginning at age 25. You start to slowly lose muscle mass. Now, the good news is that if you do adequate weight training, exercise, cardiovascular activity, you can counteract this. So to kind of tie in with our last show, I actually, in the master's division, there are women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Wow.
Who will look better than I ever will. So,
right.
So bodybuilding is the fountain of youth, but what we're talking about is fall prevention. So also what can add to someone being predisposed to falling is if they have glaucoma, they have visual issues, if they have hearing issues. Any of these things can contribute to the likelihood of you falling. And sometimes you can just stumble over, your shoelace.
Yes.
Or you can miss a step. There was a man in my class who was in his 90s. He was carrying down his laundry and he missed the last step. He fell and wound up in the hospital. So it really, so falling can be due to many, many factors. But to prevent falls, one of the first things you have to do is develop thigh strength. Thigh strength. So when I teach fall prevention, I do what's called a sit to stand. Now, when I do it, I have them do 100 of them.
Oh,
wow. I don't have them do 5. I don't have them do 10. I don't have them do 20. So in my regular class, we break it up so that they do at least 100 sit to stand, up and down, up and down. In my advanced class, we do 200 to 250 per class, 3 times a week, up and down. And my classes range from a very, very young 65 all the way up to 100.
Wow.
And my 100-year-old does squats better than my 70-year-olds.
Oh, so. Wow. That's and it is very encouraging because, and it's one of those things where you're kind of, well, I am a tad bit shocked, but then not at the same time because
people sometimes walk by the class, they're like, what the gosh golly heck is going on in there?
Right.
They look and see these, but it just goes to show age is a number.
Exactly.
Now, of course, if you're ill or you have some serious medical condition,
yes,
exercising like this can be contraindicated. That's why it's very important to get regular physical checkups to make sure your health is okay. Because first you have to make sure that you don't have any major pre-existing conditions, heart conditions or anything like that. So throughout my class, I'm constantly saying, if you feel dizzy, if you feel, very fatigued, if your heart is fluttering, please sit down. As I'm teaching seniors, I'm also scanning their faces. I'm looking to see if someone is diaphoretic or really sweaty, if their face looks clammy. So this is part of teaching the senior demographic. You have to constantly watch their faces to see if everyone is okay, if anyone's face is getting too red. I'm constantly walking around, checking in. Are you okay? Do you need some water? So that's part of teaching an older demographic.
Right, which makes a lot of sense because there are some things that you have to just be a little bit more aware of when dealing with just any kind of age group, but more specifically with seniors. And so I'm going to cut it to a quick break, but Sharon's still going to be with us. And when we come back, we're going to discuss this a little bit more because there's some other questions that we do have when it comes to this. So you are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and we will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch, whatever it may be.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. And like I said, we are doing this episode again with Miss Sharon, and we're learning a lot more on ways of how to help the seniors in our lives. Because whether we have seniors in our lives that we love and we care about and that we interact with and get to spend time with every day, eventually we are going to be seniors, and eventually we're going to need to know what we can do. And honestly, just because this is technically, we're calling it, senior prevention, this is things that we can do at any age. These are things that we can start now, that we don't have to wait until we're struggling and thinking, okay, I need to make a change. Let's just do this now. So this is why I thought it was also a really good thing to discuss on the episode today, because we can start. I personally, I'll be honest, sit to stand 100 of those, I cannot do at this time.
I usually break it up. I'll say, okay, we'll do a set of 50 or a set of 40. Then we'll do something else. Then we'll come back. I'll say, okay, we're going to do another set of 50. Once again, in my advanced class, we also do, just standing squats. We do straight leg raises. In my advanced class, we do football drills. We do push-ups, leg raises, glute bridges, just so many things. And we also do shoulder work. So when people say to me, I fell and I was able to get right back up again, it just makes my day. It makes me feel that I'm doing good, that I'm giving back. If I can keep one person out of a nursing home or out of assisted living, I've done something good. Right. So, and it doesn't take much. That's the thing. It doesn't take much. It just takes consistency over time. But as I mentioned earlier, what's very, very important is the thigh strength. You have to be able to get your body weight out of the chair without holding on. Okay, you shouldn't have to hold on to anything to stand up. So as I mentioned, I have people in my classes who are over 90, 90, 97, 98, 100, 101. Wow. And my oldest was 103. He has since passed away, unfortunately. And these are people who did these exercises. So my 90-year-old actually did 10 military push-ups.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, she was something else, I tell you. She's a strong lady,
and what's listening to you describe your clients that you have and their ages, and it's funny because we all and it seems like society even more so like pressures us to find some magical fountain of youth. You know, like we're supposed to drink something. There's some type of just magic potion that we need to somehow, some way consume or dip ourselves in, you know, right, that will preserve youthfulness. Yeah. But, you know, when it comes down to it, like you said, it's your body. It's the health and condition of your body and how much you do or do not exercise.
It is. And I'll tell you, I'm not a doctor and I don't know why this occurs, but it seems that weight training is the fountain of youth. I don't know why this is. I've seen this at competitions. There's a big over 70 division in bodybuilding. These men and women look amazing. They act as though they're 30 years old.
Yes.
And there must be some cognitive aspect that is also affected. But people who work out, even if you ride a bike, if you walk a lot, if you do Tai Chi, yoga, you just age better. I think staying in a chair all day watching television is the beginning of the end. You have to move.
Yes.
So sometimes I get questions, you know, suppose someone is bedridden, suppose someone's in a wheelchair.
Right.
There are exercises you can even do in a wheelchair. Even if you're in bed, they're called static holds, where you tighten up the muscles and relax them. So there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do. You might just have to modify the exercise, but there's never an excuse not to do anything. Now, of course, if you're very, very ill, you cannot do these things against your doctor's orders. However, if your doctor has said, okay, you can move a little bit,
right,
there are things you can do.
I've said this, I think maybe like 2, 3, 4 times. It's encouraging because I know that there are times that we do use excuses, like you said, being on bed rest or being confined to a wheelchair. But there are things that you can do. And kind of going along with that, we discussed this in the first episode that we had with Sharon. Our last episode together was that you can find a personal trainer that meets your needs and your goals. And there are, such as yourself, there are personal trainers out there that focus solely and, you know, that have experience with seniors. So there's resources for both the children or the grandchildren of these seniors, or even just the seniors themselves, you know, that we can tap into to help them. And I think that, and you said it the best too, when you said, sitting on the couch and just watching TV can be the beginning of the end. And I do notice that because when I go just to like my niece and my nephew's sporting events, their grandparents that are more active and more, you don't realize, you're like, wait, that's your like that's somebody's grandparent. And it's because they are more active and they're the ones kind of like cheering the loudest and just enjoying, it seems like, you know, enjoying just a tad bit more because they're in it, you know, they're more active and more present.
Yes, it's very interesting. Yesterday I was teaching and I met a gentleman. I've known him for a while. He's about 80.
Right.
He's an ex-Golden Gloves champion and he also wrestled and did grappling. And he taught his granddaughter how to grapple to wrestle. And he still does 300 push-ups a day. He's huge. He's so strong. He gives me a hug. He basically crushes me.
Right.
80 years old.
Right.
He says, Sharon, I can't. He used to be a fisherman up here in Boston. You know, he had his own company. Mm-hmm. The man is in such great shape. He has the biggest pecs I've ever seen, the biggest shoulders. And he and his granddaughter are so close. And he goes to all of her soccer matches.
How special. Yeah.
He teaches her how to box. So what you said really underscores that. Age is just a number. It's the mindset. It's the mindset. And it's wanting to have quality of life. And that just because you get older doesn't mean you have to deteriorate. All it takes is a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of activity every day. You'll be fine.
And that's, And that's something that you kind of sound like you're repeating yourself, because we did discuss this in last episode. So no matter what age you are, it is the consistency.
Yes, and that is key. And that's why what I tell my seniors, up here in Boston, the winters are simply terrible.
I was going to say, I can't imagine.
Right, and a lot of heart attacks occur when people say, I'm going to shovel the walk, and you're out there for 3 to 4 hours shoveling snow. It's too much stress too soon. You can't just say, I'm going to, undertake this huge physical activity, and you haven't acclimated. Now, if you've been doing physical activity, maybe you can shovel for 3 to 4 hours without a break. But the danger comes in when you just want to jump into something and do extreme physical activity without having a base. This is where it gets dangerous. You can have a heart attack. That's like moving furniture, anything that requires tremendous cardiac output. You have to have a nice baseline in order to do activity, or you have to break up the activity into maybe 50 to 20 increments to keep it safe for the heart.
Right. And I think that is, I'm very glad that you brought that up, because it's also internally what we have to think about too. And it is good to always have that mindset, and because that's part of it too, is saying, I can do this task. I can finish it. It's not that big of a deal. And sometimes, when you're so used to doing, like, I don't know, I live in California. I have never lived in the snow. I visited the snow maybe twice in my life. Like, I don't do snow, but I know it's pretty, it's nice, I like to think about it, that's cool. Snow cones are my thing, so, but it's true, especially if you've grown up perhaps in an area where shoveling snow in the wintertime is kind of just like a normal activity. These are people that know that this is what needs to be done, and they understand that. And so sometimes you don't want to call on somebody, or maybe somebody just doesn't have time to help you. But, being aware of your abilities also can make sure that you're safe, and make sure that you're not hurting or straining yourself beyond what you can take. And it is okay to know. And I remember you mentioned this too, that when you teach your classes, you look at their faces, you see how much they're sweating, are they breathing, and things like that is very important. And it's great to say, I just think it's really awesome. All these stories, that you're sharing about your clients, I think is really amazing and really encouraging. But then at the same time, it's all the behind the scenes that they're doing, And it's interesting. All I have to do to motivate my class is say, this exercise will keep you out of assisted living. Well, let me tell you, everybody's jumping in then. But my classes keep getting bigger. Very interesting, because my classes are not easy. They're very strenuous. We've had a number of mayor challenges where the mayors come in various cities where I teach. Oh, how fun.
And they think, I got this. They're in their 40s. And they can barely make 15 minutes. And you have these senior ladies, laughing or kind of giggling, because they're saying, oh, you thought senior exercise was easy.
Right.
But the reason why I teach it is not for aesthetics or looking cute in a bikini. It's for self-reliance.
Yes.
And my hope for every senior is that if you fall, you'll be able to help yourself get up and get to help.
Right.
So that's my wish for. I don't want anyone to ever fall and have to stay there and wait for someone to find them. It doesn't have to be that way. More than likely, all of us are going to fall at some point in our lives. It's just going to happen. But I teach what to do if you do fall, what to do if you injure a body part, how to work around that.
Wow.
The whole thought process when you fall, what to do, how to help someone if they fall next to you. These are all things that really need to be addressed, because, as I mentioned, so many hospitalizations occur because of falls and the secondary results of the fall. So the fall might not hurt you, but you may hit your head on something.
Yes.
And then you have a head bleed, or you may puncture something. So this is why the classes, I always say I don't teach gratuitous senior exercise. I make it count, and I make it such that the people who take my class have the confidence in knowing if they fall, they're going to be okay.
Right.
They can at least help themselves. So that's why I go high reps, low weight.
Right.
As you get older, you don't want to push a whole lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do modified overhead press. I'll have them do 75. Up and down, over their head, both hands over their head, 75 times at a quick cadence. Up and down, to build the muscle endurance so that if they need deltoid strength, shoulder strength, they'll have it.
Yes. And I think, and and listening to you share that with us, I think it is really nice what you are doing. And I think that what you said, where you're trying to impact them and change their lives, is knowing that if you do fall, because like you said, there's times when it could just be your shoe, or it could you might just stumble, because that happens even with myself, and I have 2 little dogs, and there's just times when I try to take a step down and they scurry underneath me, so I try to move to the side, and even then I have to catch myself on the counter or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
But
yes.
Knowing and feeling confident that if I do fall, because sometimes things happen, and you spill ice on the ground, or somebody in your house spills ice on the ground, it melts and you didn't know, little things that could happen, but being confident in knowing if I do, I can at least get up, or get help for myself. And I think that must be so reassuring. I can't imagine how much you empower them and how much more empowered seniors feel, especially because not everybody wants to, I was talking about my mom's mom earlier. She doesn't, we want her to come move in with us because we miss her. She lives far away, and we love her and everything, but she's not ready yet because she's so independent, because she is strong. And I think that's the only reason why my mom is kind of okay right now, is because things like this, because she's doing things to be more empowered on her own.
Right. And that's also an aspect, excuse me, of getting older. The loss of independence is tremendously devastating.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is that my classes are difficult. And I always think I'm going to scare everyone away, but they bring their friends back. They're like cats. They bring their friends with them.
Right.
The classes get bigger and bigger. And actually, I've reached out to Senator Markey, Democrat here in Massachusetts. I want to somehow get insurance companies to offer some type of rebate where if seniors take specific fall prevention exercise classes, they will be rewarded for it. So I'm looking to copyright my program, because I have a very specific program that I teach. It's not the same as other senior chair exercises. This is a very specific program. And thankfully, here in the state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth, I'm teaching more and more. Word is getting out. My classes are getting much bigger.
That's great.
And people are telling their friends, because this is a very effective class. I mean, I get stories all the time. A man with Parkinson's said to me, I fell in my garage. He has Parkinson's. I fell, I got back up. Another lady in her 70s, she had 4 open heart surgeries.
Wow.
She said, I fell in a hole. I was walking and I tripped into a ditch.
And
I got up and got out without even thinking about it.
Wow.
I've had so many stories like this, and I'm just floored at how a little bit of prevention can give you tremendous quality of life.
Yes.
Tremendous.
Yes. And that's actually really awesome, because again, when you're walking, you may trip up, you may fall into something. that is totally normal,
Yes.
And that's kind of the nice thing about this, because it's scary to think that you can get hurt in normal daily activities, but because you don't have to be doing anything extravagant to fall. And so
exactly. Right. And I've heard and once again, when I hear stories about some like a senior who's maybe 85, they'll fall and break their pelvis.
Yes.
To someone who's younger, we hear that and we're like, what do you mean you broke your pelvis?
Right.
How do you do that? But these are the risks that increase exponentially almost as we get older, especially if you have osteoporosis, osteopenia, which is the precursor to osteoporosis. You have weakening bones, you have loss of muscle. All of these things kind of bring you to a critical mass where one fall can put you in the hospital. Yes. And then once you're in the hospital, other things can occur. So that's why these preventive measures where you can do exercise to strengthen your bones. So weight training is indicated for people with osteoporosis because as you do weight training, it's called Wolff's Law. Your bones respond by becoming more dense. Oh. So this is why doing weight training, and I'm not saying you have to bench 500 pounds. Right. Just do, a 3-pound, 5-pound weight, doing bicep curls, overhead presses, some external rotation. All of these things really, really help you to have a nice quality of life. And that's what I want to impose on the senior demographic. And when I say senior demographic, it's not just over 65. Right. Over 35, Yeah. 25 is as good as it gets. After 25, we start a slow decline. So 25 is the peak, okay? So all of you out there listening, start early.
Right.
Start early.
Right. And Sharon, I wanted to thank you again for being for doing another show with us. And to all of our listeners out there, it's something that we're going to have to learn and we have to deal with, which is inevitable. That there's going to come a time where people in our lives and ourselves are going to age, and we're going to get to this time where we're going to have to empower ourselves in a different way to make sure that, again, how Sharon was saying, our quality of life, that we can maintain what we're used to and enjoy things and enjoy. And I'm younger and I don't even have kids yet, but I want to be that active grandma, at all the games, having a great time, dancing around, doing my little victory dance after the football, and it's one of those things like you said, the earlier you start, of course, the better. However, it's not too late to start. And there's little things that you can do no matter what your lifestyle is, whether you're already very active or if you're a senior or you have a loved one who is a little bit more sedentary, that there's little things that you can start incorporating. And I was just so encouraged. I know I already said this, but when my grandma could take up the case of water, I was thinking, wow, because I had seen that showed a major improvement onto what was before. And just little things like that, even if it is just so that you can bring in your own groceries, that is an achievement in itself.
It is. And I'll tell you the other thing real quick. A big issue is stepping off of the curb. This is something that most people take for granted, walking into the street, crossing the street. It is actually a very complex movement to step off of a curb into the street. You have to stabilize with the quads, coming off of the curb, coming down. As you get older, walking off of the curb can be treacherous. Wow. So that's why that quad strength comes to the fore. As we get older, the muscle strength decreases. And once your thigh strength decreases, this is catastrophic. So that's the one exercise. If any of your listeners are seniors or someone who's a senior, get them to practice standing up and sitting down in a chair. That's the first step. Have them do it 15 times, up and down, and make them do it. Even if they argue with you, you make your loved one do it. And that will help to increase the strength in their quads.
Thank you, Sharon. And that's a great takeaway. That really is. And it's a little bit easier, because you don't necessarily, you don't have to take them to a gym. You can use the chair at home in the kitchen. You don't have to leave the comfort of your home.
All at home. That's right.
So thank you, Sharon. And to all of our listeners, you are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. You can, of course, listen to this episode again because there was a lot of good things that you can brain out from this episode, especially for our loved ones. You can listen to us again on the GSMCpodcast.com. That's our website for the network. Also on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. It's been great, and I hope that, in the future we can do this again. Thank you, Sharon.
Sounds like fun. Thank you, Pauline,
All right.
so much.
Thank you. You have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to you guys all soon.
Okay.